How do I stop feeling like I'm the crazy one?
So this is important to remember or recognize that the narcissist conditioned us to feel crazy on purpose because the narcissist's goal is always to keep us off balance. Because if we're always waiting for them to react or respond or do whatever they're going to do, they're always in control. They're always kind of like one step ahead of us. And so we're always waiting to work off of the defensive instead of the offensive. So they condition us to feel crazy because that then gives them a hand, like the upper hand. And over time, us believing and like kind of being conditioned to feel crazy, it starts to impact our nervous system where like our nervous system starts to doubt who we are before anybody else can doubt us. It's kind of like it's a protective mechanism, right? So it's like if somebody is going to if I'm at fault or I'm going to be in trouble for something, I'm at least going to see it coming. So I'm going to doubt myself before anybody else can because I'm at least going to brace myself for what's about to happen. So we get conditioned to feel crazy, then our nervous system starts to help us out, so to speak, as a protective mechanism so that we can at least brace for impact. Um, but the good thing is that our brain is very much able to heal itself and very much able to create new connections in our mind to replace the old ones that no longer serve us and the old ones that we know are faulty messages that we have, right? To where, oh my gosh, I feel crazy. We can change that. We can create a new connection that is, no, I am not crazy. And then that new connection becomes more powerful as the old message starts to fade away. So, what we need to do is we need to start to anchor ourselves in the reality that we know we experienced. So, a lot of times, especially in the beginning, when we're trying to kind of piece apart what was reality and what was really the narcissist just making us believe, is we need to start figuring out like what things come up first. The first step I would suggest is figure out what are the things in your mind that stick out the most, like the most immediate, right? I'm crazy. Okay. So start with the small things, right? Like I'm crazy. Well, what makes me feel? So I like to use like, what evidence do I have that this is true? And what evidence do I have that this is not true? And I really encourage my clients to actually physically write this list down. So I feel crazy. What evidence do I have that this is true? What evidence do I have that this is not true? Under the what evidence do I have that this is true? It could be, well, the narcissist told me. Okay, well, that's one piece of evidence, right? What evidence do I have that this is not true? And that's where you can start writing down the things that happened to you, right? Why would I not be crazy? Well, like they locked me out of my house. They gave me the silent treatment. They ghosted me for 2 weeks. They broke all of their promises. My friends tell me that, they're not a good person. My friends tell me that they have concerns. My family doesn't like them. Whatever it is, right? Like, what evidence do you have that it is not true? And when you start to make a list of the things that happen, you actually get to see it in black and white and with some distance, like actual physical distance, because when you're writing something down, it's no longer like part of you. You get, like 2 to 3 feet distance to where you can see it a little bit more clearly. And when you start to do that, your brain is going to start to make those connections like, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. Anybody would be upset if they got locked out of their house. Anybody would be upset if they had something stolen from them. Anybody would be upset if, this happened. And so I always like encouraging the list, but also give yourself permission to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. So allow yourself to know the statement of my feelings are valid because your feelings are valid, even if, and especially if, in my opinion, the narcissist denies them. We do not need the narcissist's permission to feel how we feel. Feelings are valid regardless of whether or not somebody else agrees with them. And just because the narcissist denied something does not mean it didn't happen. In fact, usually, in my experience, likely it means it absolutely did. It did happen. But don't force yourself to be stuck in a prison where the only way you can feel valid is if the narcissist agrees with you, because that's never really going to happen sustainably over any amount of time. And you don't need the narcissist to agree that something happened for you to know that it really happened. And that's why that list is so important, because you can see it in black and white in front of you, where it gives you some clarity to know, like, oh my gosh, these are really actually terrible things. It's not because I'm crazy or overreacting or sensitive, right? It would make anybody feel angry or terrified or whatever the emotion might be.
Very helpful. Now that you said that you don't need the narcissist to kind of like mm, to validate your feelings as real, or you know, uh, I've heard often how that's the exact thing that the narcissist might have based on their comment that that makes you crazy, kind of saying that, oh, so you're a person who treats their feelings as real or valid even though you can't prove it 100%, like you don't have proof. So how
Right.
that immediately can, you know, make someone think that, yeah, well, isn't that then the exact thing that makes me actually crazy? So you're just suggesting that, okay, you don't kind of need their approval, or, and I feel like sometimes there are experiences or things that have happened that there isn't possible maybe get 100% like, you know, proof. But is it that you don't really need that? And even if you don't need that, it's safe to trust that your feelings are real and valid, even if you can't prove them. And it's not that that would make you crazy. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
So we don't need anybody else's validation for us to acknowledge that we felt a certain way. Did it always make sense? Like once we weren't in that situation that we felt that way? No, but it doesn't. So here's a metaphor. We all know that when we fly, right, that when we think of air travel, it's, according to data, the safest form of travel, right? And you may be terrified to fly, but rationally you know, okay, it's the safest form of travel. But emotionally, when you get into an airplane, emotionally you're going to feel panicky, you're going to feel scared and out of control, and you're going to doubt, right? That, oh my gosh, are we sure that this is the safest form of travel? Because I am terrified right now. And then the plane lands, the flight was safe, you get off, then you're like, wow, okay, that wasn't that bad. Does that mean that your feelings weren't valid when you were really scared in the middle of the flight? No, your feelings absolutely were very valid, right? Does it mean that you might feel differently some other time? No, but your feelings were still valid. And that's where giving yourself the grace to acknowledge that the feelings that you had absolutely were 100% valid, even if no one else sees it or you don't have proof. And a lot of times you are going to have proof, but even without proof, first of all, I would say never look to the narcissist as the litmus test of what's crazy and what's not crazy, ever. But if you need validation, go to somebody that you know has your best interest at heart, right? That's why therapy can be so helpful. But especially do therapy with somebody that is a specialist in narcissism, abuse, and recovery, because not all therapists are. And it's important that you are working with someone who is very well versed and an expert in that specifically. But if you need the validation, go to somebody that you know has your best interest at heart and tell them. Even sometimes what can happen is if you post anonymously in like a victim survivor support group, like on Facebook or something, and you say, these are the things that happened. Was I crazy for feeling however you were feeling? And get feedback that way anonymously. Chances are when you see it written out in black and white, you're going to recognize, wait a second, I might not have proof, but I know I was not crazy for feeling how I felt.